Today we're going to be talking about some batteries for energy storage. Welcome to the DIY Off-Grid channel, guys. I'm hosting this session from my office today, hence the change in scenery. We'll be talking about a critical component of any off-grid power system, battery storage. Now, I say off-grid power system, but in the context of energy storage, do note the same will apply for on-grid storage as well. Batteries are the backbone of energy independence, enabling us to store solar or wind power for use when the sun isn't shining or when the wind isn't blowing. But not all batteries are created equal. Different chemistries can have their own pros and cons, and choosing the right one for your off-grid home can be tricky. We'll explore the most common battery types, compare their performance, and take a look at exciting technologies on the horizon. Let's dive in. We'll start off by talking about lead-acid batteries, since that's what really came first. They've been first commercialized in 1881, so we're talking about a technology that's been around a long time. And they still make up a good chunk of batteries that are operating out there. They come in many variations, but most will be an offshoot of the flooded type that require topping off and checking specific gravity and water levels, and the sealed type that are considered maintenance-free. They suffer from pretty short life, they cannot be deeply cycled, and come with a long list of shortcomings such as low energy density, low specific energy, losing quite a bit of charge every month, and also the production of hydrogen gas if improperly charged. Now, the nominal voltage per cell is around 2.1 volts. So if you've ever wondered why your car has a 12-volt starter battery, it comes from the fact the original starter motor in cars came with a small 3-cell 6-volt battery back in the early 1900s. It wasn't until the 1950s where cars needed more power for electronics such as radios and more lights, along with heating and cooling, where they made the switch to 12 volts. And this is the reason why we have common battery systems that are multiples of 12 volts, such as 24 and 48 volt systems. In general, lead acid batteries typically have an energy density of 80 to 90 watt hours per liter and 35 to 40 watt hours per kilogram. Fairly low because, well, they're composed of chunks of lead which have a very high density. They can cycle a few hundred times on average and really don't like being discharged more than about halfway empty. The batteries are composed of pure lead plates with sulfuric acid, so the materials are quite a hazard if they're improperly disposed. And in fact, there are at least 29 Superfund sites in the United States due to the pollution and runoff from lead battery recycling plants. The cost for energy storage systems are at least $100 per kilowatt hour on average, but due to their low cycling capabilities, it's more practical to double or triple the battery size to compare them with lithium chemistry batteries. Now, I won't touch on nickel cadmium or nickel metal hydride batteries, as the former is pretty much extinct, while the latter has been all but phased out for lithium alternatives. Nickel iron batteries don't have the toxicity of lead acid batteries, but they do suffer from really low specific energy and energy density, while at a higher price point compared to lead acid batteries, which make them a rather poor contender as an energy storage battery in 2024. Lithium ion batteries are probably what most people are familiar with, and there are quite a few different chemistries with very different performance capabilities. It all started off with lithium cobalt oxide batteries, first commercialized in 1991 and utilized in consumer electronics devices. Cobalt being a rather expensive material, companies have been trying to reduce use of this potentially conflict mineral. So now we have several variants: NCA, or nickel cobalt aluminum oxides, most popularized by Panasonic and Tesla, NMC or NCM, or nickel manganese cobalt oxides, that make up pretty much every non-Tesla EV in the United States, predominantly made by the South Korean trio LG Chem, Samsung SDI, and SK Innovation, with ever-reducing cobalt content, or lithium manganese oxide, which does away with cobalt altogether. Now, these chemistries all have fairly similar operational parameters, with a nominal voltage of around 3.6 to 3.7 volts, max charge around 4.2 to 4.3 volts, and leading NCA and NCM batteries have energy densities approaching 300 600 watt hours per kilogram and exceeding 800 watt hours per liter, or almost 10 times better than lead acid batteries. The cycle life is a bit better than lead acid batteries at upwards to 2,000 to 3,000 for variants designed for long life. But the primary drawback is the volatility. Because of that high energy content, it is very finicky about charging and discharging, and unfortunately, thermal runaway events are a concern, and they do pack quite a wallop when they go up in flames. It is possible to get these chemistries to work for home energy storage use, but the nominal voltage and high-low voltage cutoff per cell makes it a bit tricky to work as a drop-in replacement for 12-volt lead-acid battery systems, as a 3-cell pack only hits 11.1 volts on average, and a 4-cell pack hits 14.8 volts. Too low or too high to fit right in. Cost-wise, these batteries have come down tremendously over the past 2 decades, from over $1,500 per kilowatt hour to well under $100 a kilowatt hour at the quantities automakers currently procure these batteries. Now, next up is LFP, or lithium ferrophosphate, or also known as lithium iron phosphate chemistry. LFP battery systems is what we offer on our channel for our DIY battery packs, and these will become the dominant standard for energy storage application. There are a handful of reasons why I'm very confident of that happening, so let's just go over those one by one. First of all, the battery voltage happens to be in a range that makes it an almost perfect drop-in replacement for 12-volt lead-acid battery systems. A 6-cell lead-acid battery typically charges at up to 14.4 to 14.8 volts off the alternator of a car. A 4-cell LFP cell maxes out at 14.6 volts. A 6-cell lead-acid battery at full charge will be around 12.8 to 13 volts, which is also the range a 4-cell LFP battery will operate at for most of its state of charge. Most electronics designed for 12-volt battery systems cut off somewhere between 10 to 11 volts, which is also right around the range of the low voltage cutoff for a 4-cell LFP, which uniquely positions LFP batteries as a drop-in replacement for 24-volt and 48-volt systems common in RVs, boats, and off-grid cabins. Now, LFP batteries don't have the energy density of the previously mentioned lithium chemistries, but that's usually not as big of a factor in stationary applications such as powering your home versus powering a car at just 150 to 180 watt hours per kilogram and around 320 to 380 watt hours per liter on average. However, it does make up for the shortcoming by offering higher cycle life, with some of the ones we're testing in our labs approaching 6,000 to nearly 10,000 cycles, lasting quite a bit longer than the previously mentioned lithium chemistries. They don't use cobalt, so production of these batteries won't be limited by the supply of cobalt, though it does require a more refined lithium hydroxide base to produce them. And cost-wise, they are currently the leading chemistry in terms of price per kilowatt hour. Now, I will add one other lithium chemistry battery, the LTO, or lithium titanate oxide battery. It's nowhere near as common as the other lithium-based chemistries, but in terms of charging rate and cycle life in cold operating temperatures, they're pretty incredible. I mean, they can work down to minus 50 degrees Celsius or down to minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit. They can charge up fully in a matter of minutes, and they can last as much as 50,000 cycles, basically addressing all the shortcomings people tend to make about lithium batteries. Unfortunately, the cost of these cells is nearly 10 times more expensive per watt hour, so unless there's a way to really bring down the cost of this technology, it doesn't have much commercial viability for all but the most demanding applications. Those batteries chemistries make up the vast majority of the battery market today, and in terms of viability and cost, variants like LFP are already there and cost effective compared to old traditional lead-acid battery systems, and offer a long enough life to not only hit a reasonable ROI, but continue accruing the savings. Lithium batteries don't have the maintenance requirements lead-acid batteries have, and can withstand a much deeper discharge cycle than any other chemistry as well, making them the most viable option for off-grid energy storage today. Batteries are a critical part of off-grid living, and the right choice can make all the difference in reliability and cost effectiveness. While lead-acid batteries are a tried and true option, lithium-ion technology is setting the standard for efficiency and longevity. For our next session, we'll look at some emerging battery technologies such as sodium-ion and solid-state batteries and get a sense of what's on the horizon. And over the next few segments, we'll take a deeper look at what the returns look like for lithium-based battery systems for your home. Thanks for tuning in to the DIY Off-Grid channel. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a few off-grid enthusiasts and subscribe for more tips and insights. And if you want to have a solar and battery free consultation, sign up for it by tapping on my TikTok profile. Have any questions or a topic you'd like us to cover, feel free to comment or message me directly with those ideas. Until next time, power your dreams and stay self-sufficient.